So Dana White, after it felt like he had forgot to go live, he eventually did, and he announced one of the biggest fights of the year, and that is Jack Della Maddalena defending the welterweight title against Islam Makhachev. A real super fight. Now, whoa. This ain't a super fight, man. JDM's got like 20 followers on Instagram. It's a super fight. Jack Della is on a crazy win streak. He's got a really unique style, excellent boxing. He has a lighter man skill at 170 pounds, taking on one of the greatest fighters of all time in Islam Makhachev. This is a super fight, dog. This is absolutely a super fight, and we all knew that this one was going to be happening. We were just waiting to hear from Dana White and the UFC for this to be official. The time has finally come. It's going down at MSG, but that's not all. We have Zhang Weili vacating her title to move up to the flyweight division to take on Valentina Shevchenko. Not often that we get super fights in WMMA. This is one of them, man. This is an amazing matchup. We have Valentina, who's one of the greatest women's fighters of all time, and so is Zhang Weili. This is an amazing matchup. And then this one right here, kind of coming a little bit of out of nowhere, right? Carlos Prates, after knocking out Jeff Neal, he was like, put me on the Rio card in October. I figured that was not going to happen after a highlight reel KO like that. Carlos Prates was going to get a crack at somebody inside the top 5. They added to the MSG card as well. This is a great matchup. Leon Edwards, one of the bigger names in the weight class, former champion. Carlos Prates is all the hype. That is an amazing matchup. And then added to the UFC 321 card, Aspinall versus Gane, we have Umar Nurmagomedov versus Mario Bautista. Super interesting matchup in the bantamweight division. And then the one that just has everyone jaws dropping, ready to roll out and try to do everything that they can to make it to the event for this specific matchup. Virna Jandiroba versus Mackenzie Dern 2 for the vacant strawweight title now that Zhang Weili vacated to move up. So in this video, I'm going to react, break down all these fights, give my early predictions, because these are some banger matchups, man. These are some super exciting fights. Now, to be fair, we kind of knew that most of these were going to happen. I was expecting to hear maybe some Arman Tsarukyan fight news and Ilia Topuria fight being announced. That wasn't the case, but we still got some amazing matchups, announced by Dana White. But guys, I cannot get into the breakdowns. I can't get into the early predictions before I go off first. I know people are going to say, stop complaining, Jake. Their announcements, it's the UFC, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to hear it. You're a punk if you don't think that there is a problem with the way that Dana White announced these fights, man. This was absolutely disgraceful. He just announced one of the biggest matchups of the year, one of the craziest stylistic matchups that we have in the UFC right now. Islam Makhachev, who's eventually probably going to be the GOAT of the sport, moving up to try to win a second title against a guy who's on a crazy streak, one of the best boxers in the UFC, in JDM. And this man pulled out what looks like a 90s camcorder to make live fight announcements on a plane with bad connection. It's disgraceful. It's absolutely disgraceful, man. And I'm not saying that you got to have, this crazy production to announce the fights. I mean, that would be great, right? That's kind of what us fight fans would really love. There has got to be a better way than this. There's got to be a better way than this. And then to basically say, I got shit to do. I got stuff going on, man. I got stuff going on. And you just announced massive fights, dude. Massive fights. One of the greatest women's fights of all time. And you're acting like it was such a bother to do this. I mean, I went off before when he was doing this. It is just getting worse, man. They just signed a deal with Paramount. Like, you're a billion-dollar company, man. And this is how you're announcing fights. What an absolute disgrace. It was disgraceful. It pissed me off. It kept me up last night because I was so goddamn mad that he announced the fights like this. There's got to be a better way. And if Dana White is so bothered to have to make crazy fight announcements, I mean, literally massive fights, and he's too bothered to do it. I'm busy. I don't give a shit what you have going on. You go on there with energy and you deliver these fights or find somebody else that will. My blood pressure's high enough. We'll carry on. Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena. Guys, I've been wanting this fight. And I know that there's fans out there, Islam fans, are like, Jake, you're a big Islam fan, but it's like you want him to lose, man. You want him to fight Ely. You want him to fight Jack. You're a fucking idiot. I want Islam Makhachev to fight these guys because I believe that he is on the cusp of being the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. Not just the greatest lightweight, which he already is, the greatest MMA fighter to ever live. That is what's at stake here. And the way that you eclipse guys like John Jones and some of these other guys that are thrown around in the GOAT conversation like a GSP is you need massive names on your resume or really hard fights to add to your resume to beef that thing up. And this is one of those fights that does it. JDM is on a crazy win streak. He's brought in Craig Jones to his camp. He has clearly made some outstanding improvements to his game. And I got to be honest, I've said this before. I like JDM as a fighter, but you guys know I'm a big Islam fan. I'm terrified for Islam Makhachev in this fight, man. I'm absolutely terrified. There's so many Islam fans out there that you got your fucking head up your ass. You think that he's just going to go out there and he's just going to steamroll through JDM. You're out of your mind. It's just not happening. He's not going to steamroll Jack, dude. It's not going to happen. This is going to be a close fight. It's going to be very competitive to where I think we see a finish. I think JDM is able to get a late TKO, or I find Islam Makhachev getting a submission in the second to third, maybe even the fourth round. That's how I see this fight going. I don't see this going to distance. I just don't see it, right? And typically we see, right, what everyone wants to talk about, lighter man skill. People forget, man, lighter man skill, right? And that is a real thing, right? And I talk about it all the time too. The lighter fighters, when they move up, a weight class, they seem to have a speed, technique, and, just an overall technicality advantage. I don't expect to see that really in this fight. Maybe with the grappling, I'm expecting that. But JDM, he's got like lighter man skill for the welterweight division. He fights like a lightweight. He does. He's got excellent boxing. He switches stances really well. And the biggest thing is his footwork. He's not a stationary target. He's not a guy that's in range that's just easy to get a hold of, right? And Islam Makhachev, he's not like a Khabib. He likes to kind of fight that pretty style from the outside. He's not exactly a pressure fighter, right? And what did Bilal do to JDM? Pressured the hell out of him. What did Gilbert Burns do? Pressured the hell out of him. Right, and it didn't work out too well for Bilal. He got busted up by Jack, but a lot of that is the advancements that Jack has made in his game. Now, I'm not blind to the fact that I know, look, Bilal doesn't have much of a finishing threat. Gilbert Burns has an overrated finishing ability. I know he's got a dangerous guard, but Islam Makhachev, in terms of the overall ground skills, is by far the most dangerous guy that Jack has fought to this point. 100%. But Jack is also the most dangerous guy that Islam has fought to this point on the feet. And it's not a good look that you're getting busted around by Dustin Poirier. I know Islam was in control of the fight. I get it. And, the circumstances coming in, he was compromised. I get it. But it's not a good look, right? And then the first fight against Volkanovski, I get, the weight cut, the rehydration, all that stuff. It's not a good look. And I know that at that time, that was prime Volk, right? So that's a massive win. I understand that. But when you're having these close things where you're getting, rocked by these guys, and we throw a 170-pound guy in there that's fast, that's got good footwork, excellent boxing, makes me nervous. It makes me really, really nervous. So this is not some sort of one-sided demolition by JDM or by Islam. This is a super competitive fight. That's why I wanted it to happen. And a win like this, winning a second belt for Islam Makhachev, man, this is absolutely massive. These are the types of things that make you the GOAT. And if he goes out there and beats Jack Della Maddalena, I don't think it's crazy to call him the greatest of all time. I don't think it is at all. This would be a massive win for Islam Makhachev, and early lean, I do believe that Islam Makhachev is able to get to JDM at some point and submit him. I believe that. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe we do see this fight go to the distance because JDM has good submission defense. Despite getting taken down by guys like Hafez, like Gilbert Burns, we see him stay safe. He doesn't take a lot of risks on the ground. And now that he's training with Craig Jones, which everyone keeps bringing that up, but it's true. It's very true, and it's a good point. He clearly has a strong understanding of what this style of grappling is looking to do, and he understands how to kind of coach you out of these positions and get out of them safely. And Jack's really good on the feet. I know Islam's good on the feet. He's got pretty good boxing, really, really good kicks, right? He knocked out Volkanovski in the rematch. Granted, short notice for Volk, but still was a beautifully set up high kick. I've said whether it was short notice or not, Islam clearly knew how he was going to attack Volk if they ever fought again. He fought it to perfection. Through the low kicks to the body, boom. Brought it upstairs. It was a beautiful kick. Maybe he catches Jack with a head kick. I think this is going to be an ultra-competitive fight, but at the end of the day, I think Islam gets it done. I think he's one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. With a win here, I don't think it's crazy to call him the GOAT. His resume, wins over Dan Hooker, right? Guys like Dustin Poirier, a guy like Jack Della Maddalena, Volkanovski twice, Arman Tsarukyan, right? It's just, and that's why I was so upset that the Arman-Islam rematch didn't happen, because that would have meant so much for Islam's legacy. Beating a prime Arman, because you already beat him the first time, but beating him while they're both in their prime and been in the UFC for a while, would have been huge. Would have been huge. But it's not Islam's fault that Arman pulled out of the fight. Went out there, destroyed Renato Moicano. This is a massive fight, man. But you Islam fans out there, that I'm a big fan of both of these guys, man. I'm a big Islam fan. You guys know that. You need to pull your head out of your ass if you think that he's just going to go in there and steamroll through JDM like JDM's some sort of fluke champion or something. This guy is legit, man. He is in the prime of his career. He's 28 years of age. He's got the reach advantage. He's got slick boxing on the feet. I know Islam's very good on the feet. He's not better than Jack. He just isn't. Jack's timing, his rhythm, his footwork. But again, the threat of the takedown is something to factor in here. And Jack has now fought someone that kind of grapples the way Islam does. Very good in the clinch, plays with your feet, implements the judo, the trips, the sweeps. And Islam has outstanding control on the ground. And if you do recklessly scramble, he's got one of the nastiest darces in the game. So I think it's very likely that Islam could submit him. But we've seen Jack stay very safe on the ground defensively the more I think about it. So maybe there's not a submission. Islam's very durable. He's tough. We've seen him get rocked by Poirier or get hit with big shots. So Volkanovski lands some good shots. Right? And we've seen ever since kind of the KO to Martins back in the day, it feels like Islam's got more of this technical approach, which also is just maturity in his game. This is a really, really competitive fight, man. But I do think Islam Makhachev finds a way to win, whether it's by a submission, maybe times a head kick or something. Don't find that super likely, but you never know. Wins by decision. I just feel like the overall style of Islam and what he brings to the table is something that Jack hasn't necessarily seen. Well, while Jack is bigger and is still really skilled and fast for a welterweight, I feel like Islam has seen that with a guy like Volkanovski, a guy like Poirier. But again, I think JDM's better than a guy like Poirier. Right? And in terms of the overall striking, I know Volk's great, but JDM's really good too, man. This is an amazing matchup. Elite boxing in JDM. Seems like he's fixed the holes in the ground game. We're going to find out, because there's not many better grapplers of all time that you'll see in the UFC than a guy like Islam Makhachev, who, by the way, has really, really good striking as well. He's a complete fighter. This is an amazing matchup. Early prediction. I think Islam Makhachev is able to beat Jack Della Maddalena. I'll say by submission. I still believe in Islam to find a submission over this guy. I just think that Islam not even compromising himself to go down the 55. I think he's going to feel strong, and there's a chance that he looks and fights even better than we've ever seen in his career, which is kind of crazy to think about. So amazing matchup. No one is getting steamrolled here. This is going to be a super competitive fight. I'll be curious to see how JDM deals with the grappling of Islam, what the striking of Islam looks like against a guy as high level as Jack. This is an amazing matchup. I think Islam is able to get this one done. Next, we have Valentina Shevchenko versus Zhang Weili. This is an amazing fight, man. For WMMA, I know people, WMMA, who cares? No, this is an amazing fight. This is an amazing matchup, right? And one of the other big women's fights we could possibly be getting is Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. And this is one that I feel like we knew was going to happen here, right? That's why I feel like Weili's been out for so long, kind of bulking, preparing for this weight class. I believe that Zhang Weili is going to smoke Valentina Shevchenko in this fight. And I know that sounds nuts, right? Because it's like, whoa. We're talking about two of the greatest women's fighters of all time. But I'm a big fan of Valentina, man. I'm a big fan of both of these fighters. The reality is I picked Valentina to beat Manon Fiorot because I figured she would find a way to win, right? She's been in so many championship fights. It felt like it was a big step up for, Fiorot. It was a 5-round fight, and Valentina weaponized experience and her well-rounded skill set. But throughout the years, Valentina, which was once known as more of a Muay Thai-based striker, she still has good striking. It has slowed down quite a bit over the past few years. I'm not blind to that. Right, and she's became more of a grappler, right? And maybe she could go out there, take Zhang Weili down and control her, but did we not see what Zhang Weili did to Tatiana Suarez? Are we going to say that Valentina's a better grappler than Suarez? I'm not so sure. I know Valentina, in terms of mixing everything together, is a better overall fighter. So when you're worried about the striking, that opens up the grappling. I think Zhang Weili is going to be too fast. She was already incredibly strong for her weight class, and I just think she's going to be ahead of Valentina Shevchenko. I think Zhang Weili actually finds a finish in this fight, man. I think that her going to this weight class, she's going to look fast, she's going to look strong, she's going to look explosive, and I think that this slow, methodical kind of Valentina, it's just not going to work against Zhang Weili, man. It's just not going to work, right? Maybe Valentina can set up a head kick, right? Take her down, control her, kind of play that kind of game like she did against Grasso at the Sphere. I just don't see Zhang Weili getting controlled like that, man. And Zhang Weili is not someone who's new to a title fight like Umar Nurmagomedov. Zhang is used to the big moments, man. And her going out there and beating Valentina Shevchenko is massive for the UFC. It's massive for the UFC because Zhang Weili is a superstar when it comes to WMMA. She's a big name. She's super fun to watch. She's got great power on the feet, very, very, very dynamic skill set, good footwork, good timing. And her ground game has significantly improved. We saw it in the Suarez fight. That's why I picked her. I trusted her to stuff the takedowns, keep the fight at her strengths on the feet. She's better than Valentina on the feet, man. I know Shevchenko's got good kicks. You can say, whoa, Thug Rose. She clipped Zhang Weili. Okay, so she snuck a head kick in there. Are we saying Valentina's faster than Rose? No. Styles make fights. I understand Valentina, right? She was known for her striking. She's more of a grappler at this point. I think she slowed down a lot. And I picked her to beat Fiorot in a close fight. I figured that fight would be close. Zhang Weili is faster than Fiorot. She's a more well-rounded fighter than I think anyone Valentina has fought recently. If you're going to close fights with Grasso, as good as Grasso is, Zhang Weili is in her prime. She's fast. She's explosive. I think Zhang Weili actually goes out there and smokes Valentina in this fight. I think she starts to pull away as the fight plays out. Maybe she finds a finish. Maybe that sounds a little bit crazy, but I'll say for now, Zhang Weili early prediction by decision, unanimous decision. I think she puts it on Valentina Shevchenko and wins this one to become the flyweight champion. Next, we have Leon Edwards versus Carlos Prates. This is an amazing fight, man. This is an amazing fight because Leon Edwards, it's just, it feels like, where do we go from here if he loses this fight? That's kind of the territory that we're in, and it's crazy how fast the fight game moves, right? Because I remember Leon was that guy on a crazy win streak. It felt like everyone was dismissing him. Like, all the champions are like, who? They'd be like, Leon who? Like, everyone played dumb like they didn't know who Leon was. Goes out there in a 5-rounder with Nate Diaz, is dominating the fight, and then gets his head spun around. Nate points at him, creates the viral moment. And then no one remembers that Leon beat Nate Diaz. Everyone acts like Nate won the fight because he won the most significant moment of the fight. And that's how I remember Leon Edwards, is getting slapped around by Nate Diaz at the end of the fight. I'm kind of playing around, but you know what I mean. So it was like Leon had that big opportunity to go out there against a superstar like Nate, was handedly winning the fight. It was ready for him to go in there and get a title shot, and then he gets rattled around and almost KO'd by Nate. And that took away a lot of the steam, right? Then he goes out there, is losing to Usman, head kick KO, beats him in the rematch, beats Colby Covington, and now he's dropped 2 in a row to 2 guys that are what? They're grapplers. Bilal Muhammad went out there, put it on him, picked him up, dunked him on his head, right? And it just wasn't a good look. And Sean Brady went out there and made it look even easier. Completely dominated every second of the fight against Leon Edwards and was able to find a submission in, I believe, the 4th round. And I picked Sean Brady to go out there and dismantle Leon Edwards. For those reasons, he was going to implement the Bilal game plan. This is a different matchup, right? This is a different kind of matchup to where with Carlos Prates, he's not a grappler, right? And I don't believe that he can out-grapple Leon Edwards. If anyone's going to have success grappling, it's going to be Leon in this fight, which if I'm Leon, I'm grappling a lot, especially early in this fight. 100%. And I knew that Leon was going to get back in there. He was helping his brother Fabian, who just won the PFL tournament and all that. So I figured it was a matter of time before we saw Leon get back in here. Leon's incredibly skilled, man. Don't forget about it. Don't forget about it. And I feel like people are overlooking him in this fight already. They're going to be Carlos Prates by whatever he wants. And I get it. Carlos Prates is dangerous, right? And we've seen Leon Edwards get rung by, I think it was it Barberena back in the day, right? We saw him get wobbled by Nate Diaz, even though it was a perfect left hand by Nate. So anything can happen. It's a fight. I think Leon Edwards is the more well-rounded fighter, and I think that he's super technical and really clean to where maybe he could make Carlos Prates pay with elbows as he enters. Good kicks to the body, set some things up, grapple, right? We saw him take down Colby Covington, even took down Usman. So I think Leon Edwards is the more well-rounded fighter, but it's hard to pick against Prates right now, man. He's on a crazy win streak. His power's legit. He's kind of like an Alex Pineda in this weight class, these long, lanky limbs, and he just has the touch of death. He just does. When he hits guys, he's got a different kind of power. What he just did to Jeff Neal was incredibly impressive. Incredibly impressive. I picked him by KO. I didn't think it'd be that easy. So I think he goes out there, fights smart. I think Leon Edwards, for as good as he is, I don't think he has the best chin, man. I just don't think he does. And I think if you're getting hit by guys like, I know it was late in the fight. You could say Leon wasn't switched on, whatever you want to say. Carlos Prates' left hand, if you get hit clean by it, it's knocking anyone out in this weight class for sure. But again, Prates doesn't fight like Belal. He doesn't fight like a Sean Brady. He doesn't have that same kind of grappling threat, and that heavy pressure style is what gives Leon problems. Does Prates have that? I mean, he pressures on the feet, I get that, but without the threat of the takedown, do we see Leon feel a little bit more comfortable? Even though there's going to be pressure, there's not that grappling threat in his face. Don't write Leon off in this one. But early prediction, I do think Carlos Prates is able to win this fight. Is he able to KO Leon? Maybe. We've seen, how good Carlos Prates is, and when he lands on guys clean, he puts them away. But don't forget how Ian Gary was going out there and was doing really well against Prates. And I know Prates took over late and was doing really well, but this is, I think, only going to be a 3-round fight. Featured fight on the card, I would imagine. So Leon going from multiple 5-round fights to now cutting it down to 3. He's kind of a low output kind of guy. Leon's a smart fighter, man. Don't overlook him, but early lean, I am going to say Carlos Prates by KO. I think that Leon's going to have moments in this fight. I think that he's going to come out looking to grapple, land some elbows in close. If he can take down Carlos and control him, then I think Leon can actually find a way to get this done. But if you're just going to go in there and strike with Carlos Prates and that's all you're going to do, I don't know, man. But when I look at what Ian Gary was able to do, I feel like Leon Edwards is a little bit more well-rounded than a guy like Gary. Maybe not. But I feel like Leon Edwards, don't count him out of this fight. But given where he's at, he's already been the champion, already been at the top. Prates is hungry. He's motivated. He's got the touch of death. I think Carlos Prates is able to go in there and knock out Leon Edwards or at least win a decision. But don't write off Leon, man, because this is not a high-pressure grappler like a Belal, like a Sean Brady. It'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. Great matchup. And again, crazy that Prates is getting a top 5 guy now. Big opportunity for him. Wouldn't be shocked if they give him a title shot if he could get a KO over Leon Edwards. All right, let's talk about the UFC 321 fights, right? Because we have Umar and Bautista, and then we have Jandiroba versus Dern. These two fought before, and Mackenzie Dern won the first time, and to be honest, I think she wins this one again. Listen, the UFC giving Mackenzie Dern, who's ranked number 5, a shot at the vacant title here against Jandiroba, it's very clear what they're doing. They are trying to market and push Mackenzie Dern. It's what they've been doing for forever. We get it, the ass cheeks, the whole 9. I get it. That's what they're trying to do from a business angle. But in terms of her getting a title shot, I feel like it's kind of nuts that she's getting the shot, right? We knew that Jandiroba was in line for a title shot. She's been on a crazy streak. She's beaten some of the better competition in the weight class. But I'm a little surprised that Dern's getting the shot here. Not from the business angle, but in terms of what have you done lately, I am a little bit surprised from that angle, but it's a rematch. And this is a good stylistic matchup for Mackenzie Dern, which is, I'm sure, what the UFC sees, right? Jandiroba, I mean, is she looking at me or looking at Jandiroba, man, listen. She's got the funky eyes. She's crazy looking. She's got a really good ground game. She's kind of a zombie on the feet, not the best on the feet, known for taking people down, controlling them. I don't think she's doing that to Mackenzie Dern. If you're going to try to play the grappling game with Dern, not many people are going to be able to do that in this weight class. If there's anybody that can do that with her in this, it's definitely going to be Virna Jandiroba, though, for sure. But early lean, I think Mackenzie Dern wins this fight. I think she does. She's got outstanding jiu-jitsu. She's durable. She's tough. And I think that her striking, while it's a little chaotic, it has gotten a little bit better over her past few fights. It has. It absolutely has. Jandiroba doesn't have crazy. She's not super great on the feet and on the ground. I mean, is she better than Dern? I don't think so. I'm going to have to go back and watch, some of the recent outings to get kind of the grappling exchanges fresh in my mind. But reacting here now, I think Mackenzie Dern wins this fight. I think it's a very stylistically favorable matchup for her. Jandiroba doesn't have that crazy of power. She's not that good on the feet. And if it gets caught with, just grappling, Dern has the edge, I think, right? She won the first fight by decision. I think she wins this one by decision as well. I think Mackenzie Dern is just better on the ground and on the feet. Dern's chaotic enough to land shots. She's durable. She's tough. I think Mackenzie Dern gets this one done. The UFC knows what they're doing by giving her this title shot. We know they've been pushing Dern. This is a favorable stylistic matchup for her against Virna Jandiroba. Last but not least, we have Umar Nurmagomedov versus Mario Bautista. I know a lot of people are kind of frustrated about this matchup, especially Umar fans, because they're like, look, we wanted the Jan fight, and I think that they were looking to book that a few months back, but Umar, I think, suffered a hand injury against Merab Dvalishvili, which was one of the best bantamweight fights of all time. I hope we get the rematch at some point. This is a great matchup. I like this matchup because, to be fair, putting biases aside, because a lot of fans are like, we're just an Umar fan here, or we're just a fan of this guy or that guy. The bottom line is this. Mario Bautista has been putting in some great work in this weight class, man. He took a chance. He was supposed to fight Chito Vera. Chito pulled out. Patchy Mix came in. I picked Mario to go out there and stunt on Patchy Mix exactly the way he did. Good footwork, good movement, would avoid the grappling. And Mario Bautista has looked great, man. He's been on an absolute tear. He deserves a big name and a top guy in this weight class, 100%. Now, I understand. I would love to see Jan versus Umar, 100%. But don't forget that Umar, right, he got that big opportunity against Corey Sandhagen, got his title shot, right? So people are like, well, Umar should just get a rematch. And it's like, you're going to probably have to do something before you get another crack at the title. And I like this fight. It's a well-deserved opportunity for a guy like Mario Bautista, man. It is. It absolutely is, right? And stylistically, I would have loved to have seen something like an Umar versus O'Malley versus Jan. This is a fun matchup here. However, I don't think it's that close. I think that Umar Nurmagomedov is on just a different level compared to Mario. And I know that Mario's look good. His striking's good, good footwork. We saw what he did to Patchy, but Patchy's a stationary target, man. He has like no idea what the hell he's doing on the feet. And Umar, he is a really high-level striker combined with really high-level grappling. And the only guy in this weight class that's beating Umar is a guy like Merab Dvalishvili. And I still think that Umar could beat Merab. Right, so they're kind of 1A and 1B in this weight class. Nobody's beating those guys. Umar will dominate Mario Bautista and probably win a unanimous decision here. I think he'll sweep him 30-27. This fight's not that close. It just isn't. But I'm happy for Mario, a guy that's kind of went under the radar, right? Took the Patchy Mix fight. Didn't have to do that, right? Took that chance there. Goes out there, puts it on him, beats the hell out of him, and now he gets a big name. This is a well-deserved opportunity for Mario Bautista, man, 100%. Now, selfishly, I would love to see Umar versus Jan or O'Malley or whatever, but this is a very favorable fight for Umar Nurmagomedov, deserved opportunity for Mario. While Mario's good, he's been on a great win streak, Umar Nurmagomedov is just better everywhere. That's the reality. Better everywhere, better kicks, better boxing, better grappling, better submission, everything. All around the board, Umar's a better fighter. He should have this in the bag. Clean sweep, 30-27. And, then that kind of puts Umar in a unique position, right? Because then maybe we get him in a number one contender fight against a guy like Jan. Maybe they give him, another title shot against Merab. I would love to see Umar versus Jan. But then again, Jan is in a position to where he should be fighting for a title right now. So maybe after Merab runs through Sandhagen, then they do a quick Merab versus Jan by the end of the year. I don't know what they're going to do. Merab was talking about that. Who knows? But I don't know that Umar beating Mario Bautista is just going to mean that he's going to get a rematch against Merab. I'm not sure about that. I feel like the UFC is going to be like, look, you're going to need to win 2 here. You're going to need to beat Mario, and then you're going to need to beat someone inside the top 5 next. Because again, as much of a fan as I am of Umar, remember he got that big opportunity against Sandhagen. Corey was the only guy willing to take that fight, and then he went out there, dominated Corey, and then got the title shot. So you got your shot. The UFC giving you this matchup against Mario Bautista, a guy who deserves it. This is a great fight. Especially happy for Mario to get it. And, I think that from being an Umar fan, this is a super winnable matchup. He should run over Mario and dominate this fight. But I'm just not sure that the UFC is going to give him a title shot after beating Mario Bautista. So maybe they do, because the Merab and Umar fight was so competitive. I hope that we get that fight again, Merab versus Umar too, because it was super competitive. Umar hurt his hand, and that fight could have went either way, in my opinion. It was a great matchup. I want to see it again, because if anyone at bantamweight is going to be able to beat Merab, it is Umar Nurmagomedov. We all know it. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you do not miss an upload. I would appreciate it. See you next time.